I'm not sure if this placement is going to work, but we're going to try. I have a feeling the camera is going to fall from where it's mounted, but whatever. I came to the beach today and I was like, oh, I'll set up my camera in, oh, there we go. So I came here to the beach and I was like, I'm gonna set up my camera and I'm gonna chit chat, talk about what's on my mind. And there's a lot of people on YouTube that I follow who make like sit down and just chatty videos or little yap sessions. And I love those videos and I have some things to yap about as well. So I was thinking about yapping with you today. And so I was gonna set up on the beach, but of course it's a Saturday and everyone wants to go to the beach today. That wasn't really the vibe. There's too many people, too many distractions. I also brought Dallas with me and he's right here. Oh, also, Dallas, my dog, his fur is black, so when it's sunny, his fur heats up a lot, so we can't be like out for too long, or else he gets a little too hot. So I was like, alright, we'll do our little walk on the beach, and then I guess I'll just film it here, in my car, which is fine. But yeah, so I have a few things to talk about, the subject matter today is about friendships in adulthood. How hard it is to have friends, make friends, all that. So I've technically been an adult for a little bit now, so I think I have some things to say. This is a topic that a lot of us think about, especially entering adulthood, because you don't have your normal routine of like going to school and being forced to hang out with your peers at school and having to make it happen. You gotta really go out of your way as an adult, and sometimes it's really hard to go out of your way, and it's also hard to have other people go out of their way for you. But that's okay. That's fine. So I have a few methods of making friends. I know this is not a how to make friends kind of vibe, because I'm really good at making friends, but I also use the word friend very loosely. Like what I call a friend, other people would call an acquaintance. But I think I'm just tragically friendly to everyone that I speak to, and sometimes that bites me in the butt. I don't know. I just like to be friendly. Some people don't vibe with that, and that's okay. What kind of made me think of this is I made a new friend. She's someone that I see often because she works at how do I be vague? She works somewhere that I go to often for my dog. Could be a groomer, could be a dog hotel, I don't know. But anyways, I made this friend and she's super cool. Immediately I would call her my friend, because I would go to this place and if I would see her, I'd be like, oh my gosh, hi, how are you doing? And that doesn't always mean that you guys are friends, but she also said that she roller skates and we have a lot in common, and I was like, oh, how cool, we should go roller skating together. And this was like a few months ago and it just never worked out, or it never ended up happening. But then I picked up Dallas from the doggy daycare and I was like, hey, want to go roller skating tomorrow? And she said, yes, absolutely. And I was like, cool. And so we made a plan, and I honestly, that day I ended up not feeling like roller skating, but I was like, no, I have to. However, there was a Pride weekend happening. There was a festival and then the Pride parade. So I was like, hey, instead of roller skating, would you be down to go to this Pride festival? And she was like, yeah, that would be awesome. And I was like, yes. So we spent a lot of time together that day, and she was so cool. Oh, also I forgot to mention, the big point of this was that she's also my neighbor. Holy, I should have brought that up in the beginning. And so immediately I was like, you're my best friend now. And she was like, okay, we're besties now. So I was happy that she matched my freak that way, because I knew that most people, if you were to say you're my best friend now, they would probably be like, okay, weirdo. But she was very cool about it. Yeah, so then we've been hanging out a lot, and it's been really cool to not only have it's been really cool to have a friend who lives very close to you, because also after high school and after college, a lot of people move away, so all the friends that you have are now scattered. I had a couple of friends that are in my city, but even the friends that are in my city are still you know, they have their own lives. And that's also the hard part. Everyone just has their own life to live. You know, they different schedules. Some people have a 9 to 5. Some people are only weekends, like they work weekends and nights. So it's like, you know, it's tough. The ways that I've made friends in the past, for one, where you work is very easy to make friends because you see them every day, you talk to them every day, and then bam, all of a sudden you guys are friends. However, I have noticed that those friends are typically kind of like your high school acquaintances, in the sense of once you quit that job or once they quit that job, then you'll never hear from them ever again. And that's something I've learned the hard way. I've had one friend, we worked together for 2 years, and she was like my best friend. I loved her so much. I still love her. I hope she's doing well. But I haven't talked to her in like 5 years. The last time I saw her in person was the day that she quit. And that makes me really sad because we were very close. So it makes me sad to think that we were just work friends rather than like long-term besties. Because to me, she was my best friend. However, I did love, you know, what we had at that time. Now we live like 2 hours away from each other. So it would be really tough to... It would be tough to hang out again. But if she's ever down, I'm super down. Also hobbies. There's 2 hobbies I've had that have made it super easy to make friends. 1 is roller skating and 2 is driving a Miata, which sounds ridiculous, the Miata part. But it's because the people who have Miatas love their Miatas. And there's also like a car culture to it. People go to meetups and they meet each other. Like just recently, I went to the grocery store and I saw a Miata parked outside, and I parked right next to them. And it was an NB, which is a generation, it was like a 2000s Miata. And I parked right next to them and I was like, oh, cute. Like I've always parked next to a Miata any chance I could get. But I got my groceries, I came back, and then the lady was putting her groceries into her little Miata. She saw me go into my Miata, and we're like, hey, I love your Miata. And we're like, what's up? But, you know, we didn't exchange contacts or anything. But, yeah, I just love that, like, sense of community in certain hobbies. And owning a Miata is one of them. But for a long time, like a solid 2 years, all of my friends that I was like actively hanging out with all had Miatas, and that was just like how it was. Like that's how we knew each other, because we all had the same car. And it was so funny because if we ever wanted to go somewhere as a group, we all had to take our own car because we all had 2-seaters. So it's not like we could all go into one. So that was kind of silly. But I haven't really been into the Miata community in a long time. I stopped posting about it on Instagram, and I just kind of see my car as a car now. But that's a whole nother topic, a whole nother story, a whole nother video. And then with roller skating, it's also really easy. Sometimes I'll roller skate on the beach path, and I'll kind of do like a peace sign or a nod kind of thing to other roller skaters, but they never do it back. But Miata people do. If you give them a peace sign, they give you a peace sign back, especially if they have that NA, which is the 90s one with pop-up lights. They'll do their little pop-up light at you. And yeah, but roller skating is kind of different. But I think on Instagram, it was like how I made friends for a long time. I almost, like, this is gonna sound kind of weird, but when I was 20 years old, I never really posted on Instagram, and I was kind of like, how come no one wants to, like, hang out with me, or, like, no one reaches out? And, like, I don't really have a lot of friends right now. At that time, I didn't have a lot of friends. I was like, how do I even meet people? And this is so weird, but I treated my Instagram almost like a friendship portfolio. Like, this is what I'm about. This is me. This is what I'm up to. This is what I do. And some people really vibed with it. I noticed that people started reaching out to me more. I'm like, oh, Gwen, I forgot about her. She doesn't post online, which is also a whole nother can of worms to dive into another time. But it is kind of so weird. People are so weird. And then also when you meet someone new, it's like, oh, what's your Instagram? And I bet this is probably exclusive to Gen Z or baby millennials, or that generation where we're all online. So that's how I treated my Instagram for a while, and it did really help me make friends. And then there's some times where I felt like I had too many friends. And not to be like, oh, I have so many friends. It's like it's so hard having so many friends. But when you have so many friends are like very surface level, then that's kind of when I felt like the most lonely. And like I didn't have a lot of friends who like knew me. And then that's also where things got a little weird, especially with like social media. Like no one even knows me. No one knows who I am. And if I got closer with someone, I felt like I had to explain myself a little too much, of like high-key kind of trauma dumping, of like, hey, this is who I am, this is all my stuff, do you still like me? But yeah, so in recent years I've been keeping my circle a lot smaller, and I have this one friend, she's so cool. We've been friends for 5 years, and I met her through Miatas. She's so elegant, and I love how she thinks, and she thinks very thoughtfully about a lot of things. And she decided to delete her Instagram app this year, like for 2025. Wants to like live without Instagram. Like her account is still up, but she doesn't want to post or check it or anything. And she's told me that life has just been better. And I've heard that you get to see like who actually reaches out to you, checks in on you when you don't have Instagram. Because when you're on Instagram, you just like, you post, you're like, everyone knows what's up, you know? Like any major life event, everyone knows about it because you post it online. And I like the way she's been living. I actually have a video from a long time ago, don't watch it. It's also a car video, interesting. But it's about how I deactivated my Instagram for 6 months and how I felt at that time. And I probably should rewatch it because I think that was like 4 years ago now. So it would be interesting. Maybe I should deactivate my Instagram again. Something that I have been doing is I got an app, and this is not sponsored. It is called Be Present. And I used it to like put my phone on baby mode pretty much. And I have it set to where I could only open Instagram 10 times a day for only 10 minutes at a time. And this has been so helpful to my Instagram addiction that I had. And now I barely go on. I'll probably get 3 times in one day on a normal day. If I'm posting something and I'm like, you know, making my carousel and like making sure I didn't double post, because I do a lot of carousels. When I'm posting, I'll typically have like 7 or 8 times in a single day, because I'm trying to make it perfect, or you know, I'm checking on comments or whatever. But that has been extremely helpful, being logged off. And I'll just check for like messages. Sometimes I'll go on my computer just to look at the messages if anyone's messaged me. The computer is a completely different vibe, and it's not addicting like how it is on your phone. Something about the scrolling is different. And yeah, it makes it very easy to not want to log on when you log on your computer. But anyways, oh, I also set it for certain times, so I don't, or my phone, all apps are locked after 10 p.m. and before 9 a.m. That way I'm not scrolling and just doing mindless things for the heck of it. And I've been sleeping a lot better because of it. But anyways, so as for friends, yeah, it's been really hard. I was having a conversation with a friend last week, and if you're watching, you know who you are, because I know you watch my videos. But I'm also spontaneous, and my weekends I typically fill up like as much as possible and right away. So I don't really have plans until day of or day before. Last weekend, my new friend, my new neighbor friend, she was like, hey, do you want to go kayaking? I was like, absolutely. But my other friend, who you know who you are, I was like, hey, do you want to go do this? And she'll be like, They'll be like, nope, no, I don't feel like it. I don't want to. And that's totally okay. And we're having a conversation about it, and they said that, like, they just have a different social battery than I do. And that's totally fine. And I was talking to them about the movie Yes Man from way back when. It had Jim Carrey in it. And this is only going based on memory. I haven't seen it in years. But the premise was like a guy who was forced to say yes to everything. And sometimes it would go very good, and sometimes it would go very, very bad. And I don't remember how that ended, but I'm sure there was something to that. I should probably rewatch it. But I don't know, that was always something that I lived by, or that I have been living by for years now, because I used to always say no to everything. And I think that something that has to do with that is I have always been a homebody, and I also grew up an only child. I did have 2 cousins that I lived with for a few years, and they were the closest things I had to having siblings, and that really helped for, you know, me getting like social and stuff. I think if I didn't have my 2 cousins in my life in my formative years, I would have been a totally different person right now. I would have been worse. I used to always say no, but then I switched to always saying yes. And I almost never regret. Literally never. I never regret saying yes to plans. The only things I really say no is for like bars, clubs. Like there was a time where I did do that, but not in years. Especially because I've been sober, obviously. So I don't really do that. I have gone with friends before, as like just for me to like get out, but it never fulfills me, so I typically say no to those. But yes, I always try to say yes. I did say no to something for today, and I feel really bad about it. But I think I was kind of low-key proud of myself that I knew that I didn't have it in me, and I knew that it was going to be something that would be costly to me, because it's tickets to go to something, but at that something is also like vendors and booths, and I'm really trying not to like spend money like that, and my self-control is very limited when I see cute trinkets. The girls who know will know, and I am a girl who likes trinkets. So with that being said, having friends in adulthood is hard, and it gets pretty lonely. I tend to do a lot of things by myself. Luckily, I have my dog to keep me company for a lot of it. Like, I go to the beach all the time, every weekend with my dog. It is very nice to have time with yourself, by yourself, learn who you are, and just kind of like come back to that. Because I think it says a lot about you, who you are, what you do by yourself. Like, if a friend were to say like, oh, let's go to the beach, you know, obviously I would always say yes. But I'm also someone who goes to the beach even alone and by myself. So that helps me know, like, I'm someone who loves the beach. And even like, you know, something as little as picking music. The music that you pick with friends is different than the music that you pick alone. I've noticed that whenever I'm with friends, I kind of do things that are more poppy. I love pop music, don't get me wrong. But when I'm alone, I'll probably pick one pop song and I listen to it on repeat. Especially if I have like that earworm where I'm obsessed with a particular song. But if I'm with a friend, I'm not going to do that, because they're going to be like, are you serious? Why are we listening to this song for the 1 millionth time? So yeah, that's just kind of how I feel about that. Yeah, that was my new friend, my new bestie. We're hanging out later and I'm so excited. Oh, another thing about my new bestie is that she's going to, or I almost said moving, but she's visiting Germany for like a month. So I'm going to be so lonely again. But it's okay. I'll live. So with that, also, great segue. being comfortable being alone is so hard as well. It's taking me a lot of practice. I used to be very codependent at one point where I couldn't do anything without someone. And that was even as far as like the grocery store. Like it was very hard for me to go to the grocery store by myself for years. Or like, you know, going to get my car fixed, whether it's like tires or an oil change. I would try my best to bring a friend or bring someone I'm dating or something, because I was just scared to do things alone for a long time. But now, I love it. I think in the last 2 years especially, I had gone through a breakup a few years ago that was like a long-term relationship. And since coming out of that, I've been really doing my best to be alone. And for a year after that, I did no dates. Okay, I went on one date, but it was like, but I did do 1 solid year of no dating. And that was probably like the best year of my 20s. Wouldn't say life, and I don't think it's going to be the best year forever. I think I still have time to have awesome years, but in terms of like being like remembering who I am at the core, it was a great personal growth year for me. In that year, I went to the movie theaters by myself for the very first time. And before that was like, I never would have done that before. But my ex was a really big movie watcher, so we had gone to the movies a lot. And that was kind of a habit that I had developed, from that relationship. Was like, oh, we go to the movies. And then there was movies I wanted to see, but I was like, I don't know, because I don't have anyone to go with. Yes, so I went to see the Barbie movie way back when, and that was the first movie that I had ever seen by myself, and it was like the best movie to watch by yourself. I watched it on a Thursday right before that, Friday, like the very first day that it came out. I was there by myself, watched it alone, and it felt so empowering. One, it was like, a woman like empowerment kind of movie, and to watch that by myself and be able to like laugh and cry by myself, and to watch until the credits were done, and getting to pick on your own terms, like when you want to leave or when you want to show up, not having to worry about anyone, was the best feeling. And after that, I started going to the movie theater by myself more often, and I loved it. I was like, this is now my preferred way of going to the movie theater. Okay, we're back. If the sound is different, like the air conditioning or something, I'm so sorry. But yeah, so movie theater by myself. Yeah, now I do everything by myself, and I prefer it. If anyone, typically if anyone does like, well, I don't know. There's some things where I wish I could do with people more often. Like, I keep referencing the beach, but I just love it here. When you live in California, it's a part of the amenities, and you pay extra for it, so you gotta go, like, every day if you can. I go to this beach all the time. It's very rocky, and it's very fun to explore. Dallas loves it, because he loves to climb on the rocks. I go very often by myself, and I had taken a friend a couple months ago who was visiting town, one of my like longtime friends from my hometown. They were visiting, and I was like, oh, I gotta show you all the spots, and for one, I gotta show you this beach, and it's a little bit out of the way, but so worth it. I love this beach. And we're like collecting shells and like walking around. I was like, this is a spot that I like to sit, and then Dallas likes it right here, and all that. And they said something to me that jolted me a little bit. They're like, oh, do you come here alone a lot? And I was like, yeah. And they said, it sounds like you spend a lot of time alone. And I was like, well, yeah. Who else am I gonna go with? I don't really have that where, maybe it's because I'm not in a relationship, my family lives far away, so there's not a whole lot of options except for my new friend that I was telling you about. But yeah, I am pretty proud of myself of how far I've come, of accepting being alone and being comfortable with it. I've come a long way, because I used to not be able to be comfortable being alone for the longest time, which is crazy because I grew up an only child and was always alone. I've always figured out how to entertain myself, and I even take myself on little dates. Like, I go to restaurants now and we'll eat alone, and it's so funny because the waiter or waitress, you know, when you say how many you have, they're like, how many? And I'm like, just one. And they're like, just one? It kills me. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, bar or table? And sometimes I'll be obnoxious and be like, table please. But obviously if it's busy, then I'll go to the bar. But it's always weird because, I don't know. I know I was just earlier was like, I'm so friendly. But at the bar, I don't really like to talk to people. But I hope that is valid because of, it's a different vibe. Something else, I think Dallas, my dog, really helped me with the independence as well. Shiba Inus are very independent dogs. They do their own thing. He's taught me a lot. You know, sorry, out of breath. Speaking of the devil, the friend who I was like, that they have a tougher social battery and it's hard to make plans with them, and I invite them to things and then they typically say no. They just messaged me and said, Gwen, what are you doing tonight? And said, top 10 texts you'll never see. Well, now I have plans. That's so funny. Anyways, as I was saying, I love spending time alone, but also with my circle of friends being smaller. I love nurturing the friends that I have and spending time with them. And it does feel really good to not have a million friends like before. I've never had like sometimes there's a group of friends. You got your group. I've always had a hard time with that. Like in high school, I've always had multiple groups of friends. Different vibes of people. But in adulthood, I typically have one friend from different parts of life. Like maybe like roller skating friends. Sometimes they don't always know each other. Okay, let me rephrase. Like the friends that I have now, I've met at different times in different ways, and they don't really know each other. So I don't really have like a group of friends. But I think it would be awesome to get them all together. Sometimes I do that for my birthday. But yeah, I'm very happy with the people I have in my life now. And I'm also happy for the times that I'm alone and get to do all the things that I do alone. And I'm very comfortable with that. And I used to not be comfortable with that before. So yeah. Thank you for watching. Part of me was like, I hope this video helped, but I didn't really give any advice. This was just me yapping because this is what I do when I hang out with my friends. You're now my friend. We're friends now, whether you like it or not. But tell me a little bit about yourself. Do you have friends? Do you struggle with making friends, keeping friends? But yeah, thank you for watching. I'm Gwen Wiley, and I'll see you next time.